Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and talk about things that are going on, but explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that are being done right and or done wrong. So this one is December of 2022. That's a while back. I don't think I recall seeing this video on any of the other normal YouTube channels that show officer involved shootings. So I don't think this one's been seen before. I'll play the video, let it go through its whole 12-minute, 37-second presentation, and then I'll go back and start breaking it down from there. So here we go.
The information, audio, and visuals you are about to see are intended to provide details of an officer-involved shooting which occurred on December 20th, 2022 at approximately 9:41 a.m. and began in the 500 block of Madison Street. An investigation into the use of force is being conducted to determine whether the actions of the officers were in compliance with law and department policy. The investigation is being conducted by the California Department of Justice and Bakersfield Police Department. Bakersfield Police Department officers are equipped with body-worn cameras. The cameras do not capture everything the officers saw or experienced and do not encompass the entirety of the investigation, which includes witness interviews, forensic processing, and administrative review. Conclusions about the officers' actions with regard to law and policy will not be made until the investigation is complete and all facts are known. Since the adoption of body-worn cameras, the Bakersfield Police Department has released footage of all officer-involved shootings. The footage is being released to the community to provide transparency. This video may contain strong language and graphic images which may be disturbing to some people. Viewer discretion is advised. On December 20th at 9:41 a.m., the Bakersfield Police Department received a report of a disturbance involving an adult male armed with a firearm near the railroad tracks in a field adjacent to 500 Madison Street. Multiple officers were already in the area on an unrelated assignment. The following body camera footage begins as 4 officers arrive at the railroad tracks to make contact with the subject.
He's got a gun! Lincoln Robert 1, 998, 998.
Copy, 998, 998. Medical aid.
The officer lost sight of the suspect as he ran across the fields. The video from this involved officer picks back up after he relocates the suspect on Daniels Lane.
Units, engage. Why are they not shooting? Suspects down, make an entry team from the west.
Subject down, make it from the west.
Have medical aid stage at Daniels and Union.
Get on the fucking ground!
Medical aid stage, Daniels and Union. Remember, to the front of the service master. Copy, engage to the front of the service master.
Cease fire! Cease fire!
New traffic unit 901T21st Manchester.
Additional body camera footage from a responding officer captures a different angle, and the adult male subject can be observed repeatedly pointing an object at the officer.
Got a gun!
Whoever 998, 998. Copy 998, 998.
Come on with your hands up! Do it now!
Show us your fucking hands!
Put your hands up!
Show us your hands! Watch the crossfire!
25 is running westbound. Across the track. Copy, running westbound across the track.
Get on the fucking ground! You better get on the ground now!
Confirm medically the third enter.
Keep cover, Chad!
Police, get on the fucking ground!
Bakersfield police, stop running!
Number 25, officers are in active foot pursuit. Subject still appears to be armed.
The officers pursued the subject through the field with no shots fired. The video picks back up as officers are joined by an assisting unit.
A firearm!
Daniels. First subject on Daniels. Units watch crossfire.
Chad?
Come here! Hey! Get on the fucking ground now! Hey, radio's not working. Stay
There we go. He's walking towards us now. Copy, unit walking towards you guys now. Walking westbound. Watch that fire. Officers are to the east as well. Subject watching west. Correct, I'm walking westbound. Officers on the east. Stop there. Units on the east, stop there.
Hey, we gotta bump up!
Copy 1097. Engage. Copy, units engaged. Suspect down, make an entry team from the west. Subject down, make entry from the west. Have medical aid stage at Daniels.
Get on the ground! Get on the fucking ground!
Sorry, medical aid stage, Daniels and Union. Over to unit engaged to the front of the service master. Copy, units engaged to the front of service master.
Cease fire! Cease fire!
While the initial officers pursued the adult male subject on foot for approximately a quarter mile, additional responding officers began to approach the area from Daniels Lane.
He's right there. Alright, I got him.
Units watch crossfire.
Unit 1, we got him. He's walking towards us now.
Drop the gun now! Drop the gun!
Drop it!
Drop the gun! I got the shot.
Hold on! Bad drop! Bad drop!
I got the shot. Tell me what's the fuck crossfire.
Hey, drop it!
Drop it in!
Drop it! Drop it! Drop it! Hey, I'm taking the shot! Taking the shot! Don't move! Don't move! Don't move! Don't move!
Got it!
Good.
Hey, watch it!
Don't pick it up!
Don't pick it up! He's moving. Watch it, watch it. Stay on the ground. He's getting up.
Don't do it!
Move it! Watch his hands. Watch his hands. Hey, somebody grab a...
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Hey, they're moving up. Let's go.
Hold on, hold on, hold on.
Watch the crossfire. Watch the crossfire.
I'm on your left. Got hands. Got hands.
Who has hands? On me, on me. Get hands on me.
Officers rendered emergency first aid to the adult male until relieved by medical personnel. However, the adult male succumbed to his gunshot injuries and was declared deceased at the scene. 8 total officers discharged their firearms during the entire encounter. 6 of the 8 officers activated their body-worn cameras prior to the interaction beginning. Due to the length of the footage, additional body-worn camera footage not contained in this community debriefing can be found at www.bakersfieldcity.us/1022/critical incident community debriefings. Officers located a loaded firearm discarded on the ground near the encampment at the initial shooting location. The knife that the subject was later armed with was located on the ground near him at the secondary shooting location. There is no indication that the suspect fired the handgun. However, an unfired bullet had a possible firing pin strike on the primer. It is unknown when that firing pin strike took place. Based upon state law, this investigation is being conducted both by the Bakersfield Police Department and California Department of Justice. The Bakersfield Police Department's use of force policy, including the deadly force policy, is available to the public at www.bakersfieldpd.us.
All right, so let's
Look at
get into this one. This one's got some pretty good content in it. I hate when it does that. So 8 total officers involved in this shooting. I bet admin was pissed about that. Like, holy shit, you mean we gotta take 8 officers off the street? And I bet somebody of rank had to go work some overtime that normally didn't do it, and they were pissed about this. All right, let's go into it. So let's go back to the beginning here. So it mentioned that they're going to a call involving a person with a
of the
gun. It doesn't provide a whole lot of details about the nature of that call. It's just that a man is armed with a firearm near the railroad tracks in a field adjacent to 500 Madison Street. When I do a search for this incident, the news entities in that area kind of have just the same bland information. It doesn't really talk about anything that's going on. So I wish they would have provided like the 911 call or the radio broadcast to kind of give us a better idea about what was possibly going on before this. We can see in the background that there are railroad tracks, and there is a railroad service vehicle on these tracks. You can see the front of the car or the truck has the special wheel attachment that lowers down, and it has the train wheels that go on the track. So I suspect that this person was out on these tracks performing, whatever job a person in this truck does. I suspect it has something to do with inspecting and maintenance of the rail, or checking, the property along the rail, because it's more than just the rail itself. It's also so many feet from the rail that these rail companies owned, and then there's also large plots of land that these rail companies own. So it could be something in relation to this guy's out checking the rail, seeing that these people were too close to it, or maybe the person was on the rail. I don't know, something going on, and I think it probably involved the dude down here with the gun and the rail worker right here. It looks like a homeless encampment down in this area. It looks like a bunch of tarpaulin is set up to kind of build like a little structure of sorts. And let's see if I can get this angle. So you can see it right here. It just looks like a hasty structure made by homeless people. It looks like a homeless encampment. So I'd say that's probably what the situation is. This is a homeless person, transient people, and they're probably on rail property or something, and they were probably out doing something they weren't supposed to be doing. Or, this guy could have attempted to want to rob the rail guy or something. I don't know, but I just wish they would have provided more information, because it's kind of unclear. So this first officer gets here, and all he has is his pistol. And we can see a rifle right here. So this is one of my biggest chief complaints when it comes to videos like this. Officers neglecting to get their rifles out when they need to be getting them out. This is a high-risk call. This is a call involving a person with a gun who is threatening other people, waving the gun around. That's high risk. If you go to this call, there's a high possibility that there could be a gunfight. The person could shoot at you. If you know you're going to a gunfight, bring a rifle and bring your friends with rifles. Rifles are better than pistols. They are the best thing to be taking to a gunfight. Rifles are more accurate, and their terminal ballistics are way better. A pistol has a very short barrel, and you only have 2 points of contact on it to help stabilize it and reduce movement in it. And you just can't get enough grip on the gun to take away as much movement as you would like. To be able to take away as much movement as you can with a rifle. Because with a rifle, you have multiple points of contact. You have more than 2 points of contact with a rifle. And the rifle has a longer barrel. The terminal ballistics are night and day. All pistol caliber ammunition sucks. I don't care what caliber you have, 9, 40, 45, 357, it doesn't matter. Pistols suck. Rifles, they dominate. So, mistake number 1 and 2 and 3 for these officers who initially responded to this call, none of them got their rifles out, and they should have had their rifles out. Had they had their rifles out, this incident would have ended here. It would not have led into this guy running away and going through a field and going into a residential area and increasing the risk for people in that community. It would have ended right there at the fucking homeless camp. Rifles are necessary for the safety of the public. It helps stop these incidents a lot faster.
He's got a gun! Lincoln Robert 1, 998, 998.
Copy 998, 998.
So I don't know what he is pressing. I think he's hitting the smart siren control. And I would say that most likely the magnetic disconnect for the rifle is wired to one of these buttons. So I think he's pressing buttons trying to get this thing to disengage, but it's just not happening. I don't know what's going on there. It could be, a wire came loose or something like that. But it looked like he was going to make the attempt to get that rifle out. That's good. That's great. I like where his mindset was going. I just wished he would have had it out a lot sooner, like when he got out of the car. These rifles are held in these mounts that are the locks are magnetic, and the disconnect is usually programmed into a button or something on a control head on one of these things, or it could be ran to its own switch, its own independent button that could be mounted almost anywhere in the vehicle. Some places, especially the older vehicles with the consoles or the box control tree. So like back in the day before center consoles were like a normal thing, you just had a space in between the seats up front, or actually in some vehicles you had a bench seat up front. And so this little tree stand kind of device or contraption was made to hold the siren box and the light control box and a radio, like a Christmas tree, stacked on top of one another. And so sometimes these buttons were screwed into the stand or kind of under one of those boxes, so you could reach up under it and press that button. It was kind of hidden. People couldn't see it and figure out where it was at. Some places, if they had a bunch of switches on a control box and not a whole lot of lights, that might have meant they had one or two switches on the end of that control box that were unused, and they could wire the magnetic mount disconnect going to one of those switches. They flip it down, boom, disengage the lock for the rifle. So whatever he's pressing, I think it's that smart control siren. I think he's trying to get that rifle out, but it's not happening. It's possible that a wire has come loose at some point, or he has forgotten which damn button is supposed to get it out. Maybe this is a newer vehicle for him. I don't know. But at the beginning of a shift, you should definitely be trying out your equipment to make sure everything's working. Like, turn on all the emergency lights, get out, take a look at them, make sure that they are actually on and working and the bulbs are out. Making sure that damn magnetic lock disengages, etc. Like, you should be checking these things before starting shift. That way, if there's a problem, you can solve it. These rifle mounts should have an emergency bypass key lock on them, so that you can insert a key and unlock them that way. There's some that use a handcuff key, because all police are going to be having handcuff keys on them, right? So that's their emergency bypass. You can stick a handcuff key in there and unlock it. Others may use a more special key to facilitate that. That should have been a reaction for him if he was unable to get that rifle out by pressing the button. He should have immediately went to the key to disengage the lock and get that rifle out. So what's interesting about his handgun is he has some type of slide plate replacement on here. It looks like a radioactive kind of symbol. So there's a lot of slide plate accessories for a Glock. It's basically just any image, almost any image you can think of, could be painted on the back of a slide plate. And you just take the existing slide plate off and you insert the new one on there. I don't necessarily think that those are the greatest things to be having on duty guns. I think that especially for this one, all that the white paint back there, if in a low light scenario, him having to use a handheld light, if say his weapon mounted light is disabled, he's having to use a handheld light, and he's going to a neck carry position or doing an FBI position, holding that light where that light's going to be behind the gun. That could be more light being reflected off that white surface than what he may want. It may be causing some imagery interfering for him, where he may initially focus on that instead of the sights. And depending on what the image or the emblem or quote is, it may not look that great for the public to be seeing and then making opinions off of. So there was an incident a few years back. I think it was in a hotel where it was a report of a person with a gun. They come out, the police get there to the hotel, they go out in the hallway of a hotel, and these people come out and they get them at gunpoint, start giving them verbal commands. The guy has been told explicitly not to bring his hands down, because he brought his hands down, it looked like, to pull his pants up. And they very quickly start yelling at him, ordering him commands, keep his hands up. One of the officers gives him extremely clear instructions, not yelling, nothing, like states out loud, talking, if you lower your hands again, we're going to shoot. Basically, I mean, I can't remember exactly what he said, but I mean, it's crystal fucking clear. The guy starts shuffling backwards on his knees at their commands, and his pants start to fall, and what's he do? He lowers his hands. So one of those officers fires, and that one of those officers used a rifle, and it was an AR-15 style rifle, and the dust cover for that rifle on the inside of it, when it would pop open, the inside had an inscription on there, and I believe it said, "You're fucked." And the public latched onto that, and even the person's family, their attorneys, they latched onto that, and that became kind of like this big thing in the legal case, is that dust cover having that inscription on there saying "you're fucked." And they were kind of leaning towards, well, this officer, he wanted to kill someone. Look what he put on his gun. He put this dust cover on there that says "you're fucked." He is not acting in a professional manner. He's thirsty for blood. So, and I think that although it sounds incredibly stupid, we know that's not the case. We know that just because someone puts something like that on their gun, that they're not murderous, they're not wanting to go out to shoot people. It's just cool guy stuff to be putting on the gun. Like it's like an accessory. It's dressing it up, I guess you could say. It's like, how kids take stickers and they put them on their notebooks or whatever. This is like the male equivalent of it. It's like, oh, I'm going to decorate my gun. I'm going to put something on there and make it unique to me. It doesn't necessarily mean that person's wanting to go out to shoot people. But to people who aren't into guns, they don't understand that stuff, it can be a perception to them that that's what the case is. And for attorneys, it's something for them to latch on to and twist around to paint a bad image on you. And they're going to use anything they can to paint a bad image about you anyway. So I think you need to be careful on what kind of emblems and stuff like that you put on your guns, because if you're involved in the shooting, pictures of that thing are going to be taken, and that's evidence, and the other side can use that against you. They can use it in a civil case. If you're an armed citizen and you're in an area where your prosecutors are a little bit more liberal, they can look at this and be like, hey, this guy's he's a ammo-sexual. He wanted to go kill people. Look at his gun. It says, kill them all and let God sort them out. Whatever, So be careful on what kind of stuff you put on your guns, because it can look bad in court. So we get to see more of this little structure. It's in a kind of I don't know what this is. It just looks like a drainage basin, maybe. I don't know. It could be where the rail people have dumped all their excess crap, because this does not look like natural rock or anything like that. It looks like a bit of a dumping ground in a way, for like concrete and stuff like that. It even looks like trash bags right there. The dark colored object. Yeah, so this might even be an illegal dumping ground.
The officer lost sight of the suspect as he ran across the fields. The video from this involved officer picks back up after he relocates.
So now there's like a random person in this vehicle. Before there wasn't anybody in there. Now there's someone here. I don't know who this person is. So I don't know if this is a ride-along kind of person. I would imagine if this is a police officer, they would be out of the car doing stuff. So I kind of think this is someone who's there along for the ride. And interestingly enough, this same agency, the last video I just did, they had a ride-along in their vehicle. In a scenario like this, where they got engaged in this gunfight and then had to go get back in the car and go, chase him down, essentially, I think it would have been a better option for this officer to tell this ride-along to get the hell out of the vehicle and go into a store and call someone to come pick him up, because it's not a good idea to keep that ride-along in that vehicle while you're going after a person with a gun who has pointed the gun at you all. Bullets can go through windshields. It can hit them. A vehicle is not a good place to be at in a gunfight. Bullets go through car doors and vehicles very easily. The only thing in a vehicle that's going to for sure stop a bullet is the engine block. The rest of the vehicle doesn't stop it very well. So a vehicle is the last place you want to be at in a gunfight. So if you're going to have people riding along with you, if you're the person who is given ride-alongs, this is something you need to think about. Gun calls, yeah, drop them off. Don't let them come straight to the scene with you. They don't have the means to defend themselves if a gunfight starts, and telling them to stay in the vehicles is not really the best thing for them, because they're sitting in a fucking death box that bullets can pass through very easily and kill them. So have them dismount from the vehicle in a safe place. If you're in a urban area, you can certainly stop outside a dollar store and say, hey, go inside there and, we'll pick you up later, or, call someone to come get you, get an Uber, whatever. Get them out of the car so that they're not going to be at risk going to this damn gunfight and not having a gun and being trapped in a damn death box.
Units, engage. Units, engage. Why are they not shooting?
Why are they not shooting? That's a good question. So some people just aren't inclined to want to shoot. They have to be given some encouragement to begin shooting. The conditions are right for them to shoot. They would be justified to shoot, but some people are just reluctant to pull that trigger. Not everyone's the same. You can put everyone through the same training, right? You take 100 people, you put them all through the exact same training. Not all 100 of those people are going to act the same. Some of those people they're not fighters. I forget who the famous saying comes from. I'll have to Google it because I'll butcher it if I don't say it right. But it's out of 100 men. I can't even pronounce the damn name. Heraclitus, whatever. Out of every 100 men, 10 shouldn't even be there. 80 are just targets. 9 are the real fighters, and we are lucky to have them, for they make the battle. But the one is a warrior, and he will bring the others back. That's pretty damn accurate. And that very, very applies to law enforcement. Out of all the police at your local police department that are police, there's going to be some who shouldn't even be police at all. That's everywhere you go. Every damn agency, all across the U.S., all across the world. There's going to be a number of officers at that agency who they shouldn't even be there. Like, they shouldn't be cops. And it's not from the standpoint of like they're too aggressive or anything like that. It's from the standpoint that they're not aggressive enough. There's not hardly any aggression in them at all, and they're fucking wimps. So, 80 are just targets. 9 are the real fighters, and lucky to have them. So, out of 100 people, not everyone is going to be Johnny on the spot with pulling that trigger. There's going to be some who are going to hesitate in doing it when they need to be shooting. So, not surprising at all. And it's kind of funny that, people, they always want to insinuate that, police are trigger happy. They just want to kill people. Nope. Not the case at all. There's plenty of cops who should have shot but didn't shoot. One famous incident out of Georgia from the 90s, Deputy Kyle Dinkheller, or is it Hinkdiller? I can't remember what his name is. He is an example of someone who should have shot but didn't, and he got killed because of it. So, not all cops are, eager to want to shoot. A lot of them, or I won't say a lot, but there's quite a few of them who are reluctant to do it. So, probably what's going on here with this officer's observations about why isn't anybody shooting. And it could also be a mix of some of them are concerned about crossfire, because you do hear them talking about crossfire down this way. And so they may be more reserved in wanting to shoot because they don't want to injure their own friends. So it could be a mix of a couple of those things going on. So after this gunfight has occurred and they've moved on, these other people, I don't know if they left their vehicles back where this initially started at, or they've arrived in their own vehicles and they're nearby, but they don't have rifles, and that is a problem to me.
Object at the officer.
Okay, so contact occurs. This first officer runs to the rear of his vehicle to take cover, and this officer over here is standing behind his car door. When it comes to vehicle tactics, going to the rear of the vehicle can be the better thing to do, depending on angles and where the person's at, etc. In this context here, where this person's all the way to the front, this was the best thing for this officer to do. Go to the rear of that vehicle and put as much material of this vehicle between him and the bad guy. We know the engine block is going to do a really good job of stopping the bullet. The rest of the car, not so much. A bullet can go easily through the whole set of doors. Go from driver's side and all the way out passenger side, no problem whatsoever. Even something as small as a 9mm or even a 22 can easily pass through a whole vehicle from one side to the other. So he's doing good by doing what he's doing. This officer, on the other hand, taking cover behind his car door. Not the greatest thing to be taking cover behind. A small 22 projectile will easily punch through this car door. No problem whatsoever. The glass, yeah, definitely punching through that glass. So in terms of cover, he's not really behind cover at all. His chest is fully exposed through this glass right here, and only from his belly button down to about maybe his shins is covered by this car door that isn't real cover at all. It's just very thin metal and some plastic that, again, a small ass 22 long rifle will go completely through. So he's exposed. He might as well not even be standing behind that damn door. He might as well be standing in front of it, because this door is not going to do shit to stop a bullet.
Over 998, 998. Copy 998, 998.
Come on with your hands up, do it now!
Show us your fucking hands!
And so I think this could be a sign of the times, so to speak. So you look at his arm right here. He has these little hash marks on here. These usually denote service of 5 years. So we got 5, 10, 15, 20. So 20 years ago, training was a lot different than what training is like today. There's still a lot of similarities between back then and now, but what officers learned 20 years ago in the academy is not exactly the same as what is learned today or within a few years past. Going to the back of the vehicle is a more popular thing to be taught. It's a more popular thing to be doing. People who started almost 5, 10, 15, 20 years, or not 5 years ago, almost 20 years ago, that was a norm to be taking cover behind a car door. That's not the best place to be taking cover behind. History has shown that vehicles suck at stopping bullets. So kind of an interesting visual right here. I don't know anything about the officer from this camera view, if he is a newer officer or not. I suspect that he is. And like I said, it's interesting visual to see the difference between what an old school person has learned and is still doing and what a new school person has learned and what they're doing. Now, taking cover behind this vehicle and then leaning out. So I do not recommend that the side of cover that you lean out of to plant your foot down like that and have your knee and leg chicken winging it out. I think if you're going to be leaning out from cover like this, then he should have had his knee planted down on the ground and minimize as much of his body as possible that would be exposed by leaning out this way. As it is right now, he has a lot of his body exposed, leaning out. He's got his lower body and his upper body exposed out the side right here.
Put your hands up!
Show us your hands!
And another reasoning for why they should have had rifles out. If they had rifles, this guy would not have been able to do what he did. He wouldn't have been able to flee like this and go over the tracks and get away. If they'd been using rifles, this gunfight would have ended right there. No doubt about it.
West on cross the track.
And this guy in this damn rail truck,
Cross the track.
still sitting in there like like, throw that damn thing in reverse and get the hell out of there. Like, there's no reason for you to stick around and be that close to a gunfight. And I've talked about this before in some other videos whenever I come across it. Like, you'll see people with their phones out recording shit going on. Like, you don't want to be around anywhere of a gunfight. You don't know the players involved. Very easily, a stray round could find its way to your face. So anytime you're in a place where there's some gunplay going on and you're not playing, get the hell out of there. Or else you run the risk of getting a stray round in the face or some other part of your body.
Copy, running west on cross the track.
Chad! Bakersfield police, stop running!
Over 25. Officers in active foot pursuit. Subject soldiers is armed. Over 25.
Looks like another homeless encampment right here.
Officers in active foot pursuit. Subject soldiers.
It's kind of interesting. And I guess I guess I'm eating my words from the last video. The last video, an officer got into a foot pursuit that was a pretty long distance, and now these officers are getting involved in this foot pursuit that looks like to be a pretty long distance. But I still stand by what I said. This is not a very common thing to be getting in, like, you know, a mile-long foot chase or half-mile-long foot chase. But it's still plausible. Just not very likely. How far from that area they were and getting to this point, I don't know. I don't know what the distance is. And these could have been some of the same officers there at the scene when it first happened. I don't know. There's nothing that can clearly show that they are or are not. That's an old school car. All right, so that's not the person who was in that truck in the first interaction. So that first person was in a Ford F-150. This is an Explorer. This is also where it's helpful for the agency to put on the camera, like, whose camera view it is. That way you kind of have a better idea of the people involved.
Engage. Daniel. Uniform engage to the front of the service now. Clear. West. From the west. Captain H. Engage. Suspects down. Make an entry team from the west. All medical aid stage at Daniels.
Get on the ground! Get on the fucking ground!
Medical aid stage Daniels and Union. Over to uniform engaged to the front of the service now.
All right, so when he came behind the vehicle, it looked like he fired 3 rounds. He must have fired some before that. I just didn't remember it or catch it. And then he fired like 1 or 2 rounds right here and then went dry. So, I don't think that this gun holds, less than 10 rounds. It's got to hold more than 10. So that tells me that he has shot some and then continued to move. So that's wrong. I think he had ample amount of time, an opportunity to perform a reload. So the Wyatt protocol or fast protocol is you fight, shoot your gun, you assess, did your bullets do what they were supposed to do? If not, do you need to shoot more? If so, shoot more. If not, don't. If during your assessment your rounds had the desired effect, that target's down, they're no longer a threat, perform a scan. Look around you. Does anyone else need to be shot? Is that person having a partner with them who's going to outflank you, come up behind you, etc.? Look for additional threats. Bad guys do not always work alone. Sometimes they work in pairs. And then once you've done that, you top off. So FAST, F-A-S-T, fight, assess, scan, top off. And then you start to talk, take cover, treat injuries. It is best to reload under your own terms versus being forced into a reload. So when it is safe to do so, there's a lull in the fight, you're not being shot at, it's safe for you to do a reload under your own terms. That way, if the fight starts off again, you're starting that fight off again with a fresh magazine instead of a partially depleted magazine. And as he has pressed on in this fight, he has now gone to slide lock. He is out in the open. He does not have any cover immediately available to him. And he has gone to slide lock. He is unable to suppress the threat with rounds. The saying of your dick's hanging in the wind applies to this right here. This is a crappy position to be in. So always top off when you're able to top off. Fight, assess, scan, top off, fast.
Now subject and to
Alright, got him.
All right. So they're responding, and this passenger officer has their rifle out. Yes, I like that. He is thinking from a good mindset. The problem, though, is he did not have it dangered up. So now he has to charge it when he's getting out. And you'll notice that when he takes a position, you start seeing him dicking with the sight right here. I think he's turning it on.
Unit 1, we got him. He's walking towards us now.
Drop the gun now!
You hear it clicking.
Drop the gun!
Drop it!
Drop the gun now!
So yeah, all that should be done beforehand. And when I talk about officers neglecting to get rifles out as being one of my chief complaints, there are some things that go into why I think that's occurring. Some of it is a mix of not so much bad training, but not good enough training. Not enough good realistic training, not enough good relevant training, and nor recent either. training that doesn't instill a fighting mindset to understand that rifle is better, and training that's not good enough to get officers in the habit of getting rifles out and going through the correct processes to get those rifles in fighting order. You can see a difference in these videos when there's just regular patrol officers and there's officers who are on SWAT teams. And in these videos, you know, they may be a SWAT officer, but they're in a patrol function or they're on a SWAT team doing things. You can see a distinct difference in how those officers operate on the objective. Just from their handling and the weapon choice and everything, you can just tell a difference. So, at the patrol level, at the very beginning for everyone at the academy, they get X amount of hours of training on pistol, rifle, shotgun. And then, past that point, they don't really get any more additional training on those weapons. They do qualifications and they do some in-service refresher stuff, going over some of the same shit that they learned. But they don't take anything more advanced past that. The only time they take anything more advanced is when they join a specialty team, like a SWAT team or SRT or CRT or whatever they want to call it. That's the only time they get to have additional training. And typically that training is a little bit better, in my opinion, than what they get at the academy. Because it instills in them that rifles are better for gunfights. And you will see SWAT guys go to rifles, typically see them go to rifles over trying to choose a pistol when they can. So I think there's a training issue there. I also think there's some administrative red tape bullcrap that ties officers' hands behind their backs. And just the overall fact that officers are not getting in the gunfights every single day. It's just not happening. They don't get in the gunfights every single day at the local level. Think about your local police and the last time they were involved in a gunfight. If it was recent, what about before then? When was the last time they got into a gunfight? So that, I think, has a very large role in it. If it was the other way around, if at your local level, your agency was getting into a gunfight every single day, multiple times a day, I think there would be a pretty quick paradigm shift in the use of rifles. I think people would catch on pretty quick, like, hey, rifles are better. Let's start using those more often. But as it is right now, they're just not getting that. They're not getting that trigger time, so to speak. So a few reasons kind of go into it, and I think they all kind of mix together to lead to this problem of officers not getting their rifles out. So the training aspect, when officers do rifle training, they start on the line with a rifle in their hand. That's not realistic. It's not like Call of Duty. You're not going to appear right there with a rifle in your hand. That rifle is going to be somewhere else. It's going to most likely be in the car, and you're going to have to go get that rifle out. But rifle training typically does not involve that kind of action. It just has the students start on the shooting line with the rifle in their hand. And that's not realistic. What's realistic is starting on the line with your handgun in your holster. That is very realistic. You're going to be walking around with a holstered gun, and if, boom, XYZ happens, you've got that gun right there in your holster to draw from and engage target. So it makes more sense for pistol training to be done like that. But for rifle training, to always just start on the line with your rifle, that's not realistic. You're not always going to be able to start with a rifle in your hand. You're going to have to go get that damn rifle from somewhere. So good rifle training, I think, should incorporate drills where the students have to go to the vehicle, get the rifle out, not just get the rifle out of the damn vehicle, but also charge it and turn the sights on and then go get up on the line. That builds up muscle memory. That conditions them to do those things under stress. most, if not all agencies have a policy on how rifles are stowed in a vehicle. They call it a patrol-ready configuration, where the magazine is in the gun, but there is no round in the chamber whatsoever. So you have to charge that weapon to put it in the fight. Not everyone keeps their electronic sights turned on. Some sights will automatically turn off if you try to leave them on. So you have to manually turn them on to get them to stay on. Some will stay on the whole time. And some are kind of, designed with the intention of doing that. They have a very long battery life. You just have to remember to change the damn batteries out at a certain interval. So those are some things that need to be incorporated in rifle training, is going to get the rifle out of its position, wherever it's being held at, and charging it, turning the sight on, removing any dust caps if you need to, undoing the sling, because a lot of people will bunch the sling together with some rubber bands to keep it from flailing all over the place, and then they can just rip on the sling to get it deployed. That needs to be reset every time you go to restart that drill. Put that rifle in its stowage position, like it would be stowed away in a normal basis, and then get that rifle into fighting condition, and then get on the line. And another thing with rifle training too is with a lot of shooting ranges and even police ranges, there are some goofy rules in place, and they don't want people walking around with loaded guns on a range. I know what you're thinking. That sounds stupid, and you're right. It is stupid. But there are shooting ranges that have rules that say they don't want people walking around with loaded guns unless they are on the shooting line and they are actively shooting at targets. Any other time, the gun is supposed to be unloaded. So for a handgun, that means in a lot of places, the handgun goes back in the holster, and you have your slide locked back in the open position so that everyone can tell that for sure that gun is unloaded. For rifles, it is very common to see places demand that a rifle flag or a chamber flag be put in that rifle to show that there's nothing in the chamber, and when they're off the line, to have that rifle sitting in a rifle rack or laying on a table. That's not realistic. What needs to be happening is the students need to be forced into carrying their rifle around with them. They need to be utilizing that sling and getting used to wearing the damn thing. And working with a slung rifle, transitioning that rifle, moving it around, cinching up the sling, and going on and doing other hands-on tasks with this rifle strapped to them. Because it is not a viable option to take the rifle off and lay it on the deck or prop it up against the wall. You're not retaining security over that weapon when you do that. You should always have your rifle slung to you. A sling on a rifle is just like a holster for a handgun. So, of all the people shooting pistols, most likely they're missing this guy. This guy with the rifle is probably one of the ones who has most likely made hits on this guy. Now, has he made consistent hits with every single round? Maybe not. You can still miss with a rifle at a distance like that. It happens. It's hard to say for sure, but it's possible that I think this officer could have went into a prone position to make himself more stable and reduce as much movement overall in that rifle, and then be able to press that trigger and put more rounds on target, more accurate rounds on target. So when it comes to rifles at long distances, and even this distance, it's not necessarily what a lot of people will call a long distance shot, but it's still long enough to where a prone position is the most advantageous position to be in. It's just better overall for the accuracy of that rifle. A kneeling position is the next best position. Standing position is the least desirable position to be in when trying to hit targets at a further distance. It's just a lot of movement involved. Even though you have more points of contact on that rifle to help further stabilize it, still a standing position sucks. When you prone out and you use the earth as another point of contact with that rifle, the movement on that rifle is very, very minimal, and you are going to get better hits in a prone position. So I think this officer could have gone into a prone position, and if he had, I think that it's likely he would have fired fewer rounds than what he did, and he would have got more accurate hits on target and stopped this ordeal a lot faster than what it did.
Pick it up! He's moving.
Oh, shit. Got hands.
Who has hands? On me. Get hands on me.
I like how they're communicating pretty well, recognizing crossfire as an issue, getting the team together, trying to identify who's going to go hands-on and put cuffs on this person, etc. So good teamwork there, good calling the shots on crossfire potential and everything like that. Unfortunately, you see sometimes where people don't even think about crossfire, and that creates the opportunity for bad things to be happening. A freaking butterfly knife. And this pistol, like, I mean, this guy was on the train tracks, but shit, man, like, was he fucking robbing trains? Was this some old west shit that he was trying to do? I'm gonna rob the mail train. I'm Jesse James, bitch. Like, what the hell are you doing with this damn thing? Very old, still deadly, right? Still capable of killing. Like, this was used back in the day, and it killed people. But it's kind of a crappy gun in comparison to what's out there today. Notice the handle. He's got tape wrapped around this handle. So people will do that to add better grip to a handle, or they'll do that to be able to not leave any fingerprints on the gun. An unfired bullet had a possible firing pin strike on the primer. So if this guy was a homeless dude, transient kind of person, and he's got this gun on him at all times, his gun is out in the elements all the time. And so that leads to the possibility of the bullets getting wet, either from rain or perspiration or like condensation. So when it comes to your carry weapon and your carry ammo, there needs to be a rotation on your ammo. Modern ammunition comes pretty good from the manufacturer. The primers are sealed. You can take a box of ammo, defensive ammo, for sure. You can take a box of defensive ammo, dump it in your kitchen sink, fill it up, let it sit there for a minute or two, take those bullets out, load them up into a gun, and shoot them, and they'd work perfectly fine. Now, over time, will they still function? I don't know. Over a period of time of the bullets getting sweaty, perspiration getting in there, getting on them, rain, etc., those rounds, through that repeated long-term exposure, can become compromised, and the primers may not work. So, need to have a rotation on your carry ammo, or that's a possibility. You could go to fire your gun and the round will not go off. I understand that carry ammo is expensive, but a funeral is way more expensive than a box of ammo. So rotate your carry ammo out. Definitely on an annual basis. I think it's a good idea to do it on your birthday. What better way to go have fun on your birthday than to go shoot your gun? Go shoot your carry ammo that was in your gun and replace it with brand new carry ammo. That's my recommendation, so that you don't run into an issue of bullets going through the elements, or rounds going through the elements in a year's time and then possibly not working. Alright, that's it. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.